Alright guys, let's talk about editing. In my previous video I was showing you how I shoot my white background images, and today I would like to show you how I edit these images and how I deliver these to the customer. By delivering I mean how or in what format I will export these from Photoshop. So this is my simple workflow. This is not any kind of rocket science or anything like that, and by any means this is not the only solution. There's a million different options how to do it. That's just the way I do it. And recently I've been also digging into Capture One, which I find really useful for my workflow, and I will probably change some steps in this workflow, because right now I'm using mostly Adobe software. I have this Adobe Bridge, Camera Raw, and also Photoshop. And now that I'm using Capture One, then I might switch Adobe Bridge with Capture One, because this is really powerful software, and I'm finding all sorts of different things that are really good for my workflow. And I think at some point I will make another video just to show you how I'm working in Capture One. But today I will show you my workflow, which I've been using for years now, and this is rather simple, nothing special, but just to give you an overview how I do it daily basis. Alright, so let's get started. First things first, before I even come to the computer, I've said that already before, that I always set the rating, or I mark my images during the photo shoot. It means that when I'm taking pictures in my studio, then there's usually a couple of days between my shooting day and my editing day, which means that if I shoot images in the studio, and there will be like 2 days between my editing day, then there might be a really good chance that I don't remember which images I would like to use for editing, and then I need to spend again a lot of time just to go through all the files and find those that I like the most and then start editing. But before I go into Photoshop at all, during the photo shoot I rate my images, and I mark all the files that I like, that I want to use later on, and then once I import all the files into computer, then I can just set the filter that show me only rated files, and then I see already selected images that I was selecting during the shoot day. It's much more easier, and you don't have to worry about missing any detail that you thought on that day that you would like to use, for example, label from that file or a gap from another file. That's the way I do it. So there's different options, different processes that I use. When I'm connected to the computer in the studio, then usually I select all those files already in the computer, but sometimes I shoot also outside of the studio. Then I make the selection in the camera, and then later on I just import those files into computer and use my filters to see my selected files. So let's get started. Now I can show you what I have on my screen, and here you will see a bunch of images, and as I marked all the specific files that I want to edit, then you see those little stars in here next to the name. These are my selected files. I can select my files in the computer using command number 1 or up to number 5, depending how much stars do I want to have per one file. And then next option would be just to do it in the camera. My Canon R5C is supporting the rating option in the camera as well, so I can just click the button and I have the rating set. Either it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 stars. That's easy to use when I have like multiple selections that I need to do during the photo shoot. I can use different rating levels. But now I have my selected files, and first thing I do usually when I have all those files in one large folder, I create separate folder, which is a raw folder where I copy all my selected files. And for that, I will just click new folder and call this as raw. And then I will move all my selected files in this specific folder. Then I know that I have all my files that I need in that one folder, and everything else is in the large folder. And if I need any kind of detail, then I can go there, look it up, and use those additional files in editing process if needed. But mostly I use only these that I copy into raw folder. So in the future, this is also good for the backup creation, because when I'm running out of space, for example, my drives are getting full really quickly, and when I run out of space, then I know that if I go into the specific folder, then I can always delete those files that are not rated. And in this way I can make extra space in my computer or on my hard drives without deleting all the necessary files that I might need, for example, a year later or something like that, because I keep my files a couple of years at least. In case client needs something from our previous shoots, then I can just pull them out from the archive folder and start working with these. Now, let's continue with this one. I will select all my files that I had, and my next step would be just to drag and drop these into my raw folder, and I can just do it in here in Adobe Bridge, and that's it. So now that I have all my files in the raw folder, I can just open these up and start editing. But today I will show you how I edit all those files except one, this one. And for that file, I use quite a lot of different techniques how I edit and clean this label. And for that I'm creating members only video where I will show you my different steps, how I work on a file like this one. So if you are interested, this might not be that interesting for everyone, but if you are interested, then head to the members only, subscribe, and you can have access to this video as well. And then you can see how I edit this file in more detail. So let's skip that file and let's go into our next step, and this will be opening Camera Raw. I usually select all my files, open Camera Raw, and this is where I make my initial corrections to the file, just to adjust a little bit of lighting on the right hand side, then sometimes color if needed, and detail if I need to reduce noise or anything like that. But in the studio I know that I'm shooting always with the ISO 100 minimum noise that you can have, and then I don't have to use this area. Mostly I go here and adjust my lighting. I have quite specific steps that I do in here. I don't touch exposure because I know that when I was shooting those products, then I adjusted my lighting so that my background would be perfectly lit and my product would be perfectly lit. So I don't need to change anything on the exposure, but I go and adjust contrast and blacks just to get more punch out of this image. Let's make it contrastier, and usually go up to 20 or something like that. And then to even darken those darker areas, make it add more contrast in there without touching any highlights, then I will also increase blacks. But now I did add contrast and blacks, but for highlights, as you can see on the screen, I do have this highlight warning turned on. You see that when I increase contrast for the file, then highlights are also going higher, and therefore I need to reduce highlights a little bit. So I will usually go down to 15 or 20, something like that. So this is almost there, and I can get my detail back in the highlight areas, because if I zoom in here, then usually what happens if I increase just contrast, then these areas that are really bright on the image, they might burn out and I can't get any details back in the Photoshop later on, and it means my file is not looking good and with even lighting. So let's reduce highlights, take it down somewhere around that, and now this is what I have. This is my starting point, and maybe if I do have some really dark areas a bit too strong, then I can increase a little bit shadows to bring it back, not raising the blacks but shadows, because it is acting a little bit differently when using these two levels. So this is my starting point, and when I work with several files at a time, then usually I go either select all and I can do all the selections like that, or if I did it only for one file, then I can just go into synchronization button and click sync, and I can just sync all my settings with other files. And now if I go here, for example, then I already have these settings applied. For that one, I see that it looks really good, nice contrasty image. On the white one, maybe it's not so good idea to reduce highlights that much. Maybe I can go back, because white on white, it's important to make this product shine on the white background. That's better when it is back close to the zero or even a little bit above that. Looks good. Same thing applies onto that one. It's a brighter product. Let's bring back some highlights. And it looks now really nice. And here we have beautiful contrasty deodorant bottle, and we have nice gold also visible here. Maybe we can pop that gold a little bit by bringing back our highlights. Perfect, looks good. So this is what I have for a start. And now we head on to the Photoshop. Let's open up Photoshop. From here on, I will start cutting out those files onto the white background. So my first step when I'm working with my files in Photoshop is to cut it out, create a proper mask for it, and then I can continue with cleaning and removing all defects that I might see. And then final step would be just adding some additional adjustment levels to emphasize some details that I see on the product. So let's start with that one. I have this contrasty black product, which is really with strong, clean edges, and I can try to use just a quick object selection tool. This tool I can use only when I have like really strong and clear edges. If it has something, wherever, some kind of a uneven area, then it's not able to select all the details that nicely, so it means I need to still make some corrections here. With this one, I think it's going to be okay to use quick selection tool and just add back in my selection. So I think that's okay. Edges are all right, but as you can see here, for example, this one, you see this uneven area here. When I would use pen tool, then I would get beautiful clean edges, which I usually do because this quick selection and object selection is not working that well, at least for me. So just as an example, right now I will use that technique, and on the second file I will show you something else. So when I have my file selected here, then I can't mention that enough. It is really important that you learn all the shortcuts and also create your own custom shortcuts so that it would be easy to work in the Photoshop. And when you are using keyboard for any kind of shortcuts or actions, then you save enormous amount of time comparing to the mouse when you are trying to go through the menus and find some specific actions that you need to use. So for example, if I am zoomed in like I am right now, then what I do usually to get my picture again in full size in the screen, then I go onto my layer image and I click option button and left mouse click, I get my image in the full size on the screen. That's really convenient when I want to quickly see what's happening on my main composition, because if I'm zoomed in, for example, like that, and then I need to zoom out, then it's always uneven and I can't get it properly zoomed out. So that's why I'm using this one, much quicker and easier to use. So now I have my selection here and I will just create a mask on that. And as you can see, we have quite good product image already. So what I need to do next with this file, all I need to do right now is to remove dust and some scratches that I see here, and then I will adjust a little bit of the lighting and that's it. And then it is ready and finished. So with this one, let's start removing all the dust and defects. For removing dust and scratches like you see in here, then there's like several different options to proceed, but I'm using mostly two. When one is just a remove tool, or clone stamp tool is the second one that I use when the automatic system is not capable doing it. For example, when I have some textured surfaces, then all those AI options, they are not so good to use, so I just need to go manual and do everything with the clone tool. But right now, let's start with the remove tool and let's do some corrections. Let's see how does it work if it is textured like this plastic cap. So if I make some corrections here and then click apply, let's see what happens. It will take just a second to make all those corrections, and I think it is looking very good. Well, if I zoom in, then I still see that it didn't work perfectly, because you see some hazy areas here and it's mushy and it is not good. We have lost the texture in there. So in some cases, if I need to, then I just take it with the clone tool and paint it back. So that's it, now it looks much better. And with all those textured surfaces, you need to have the sharpness pretty much maxed out. So you have the edges sharp enough that you don't have those blurry areas. For example, I can show you just quickly. If I have this blurred out with soft edges, the brush, and I will start cloning, then you start to see those blurred areas also on the surface, which means it's not good. But if it is sharp, then it is much better and cleaner edges. Like so. Perfect. So let's continue. I'll just quickly do these corrections. If it's not working with the automatic tool, then just use clone tool to quickly remove all these things. It depends on the situation also where this file is going to be used. This is something that you need to ask from your client every time when you start shooting, because now when you are editing, then you know how much defects do you need to remove, because maybe some of those defects are not even visible in the platform where client is using those files. Once again, I tried to use this automatic tool, but it's not working, so we need to take our stamp tool and try to quickly paint back all those edges. Let's see, it gets better, and I think you can't see anything else when you are zoomed out like so. Then now it is looking good. So the cap is clean, nice, and next will be the bottle itself. So this is going to be a bit difficult, as I see, because it's textured and I need to get rid of those scratches and fingerprints, which is quite difficult. So let's see how well does our remove tool work again? Let's see if it is able to remove this. I guess that's fine, not bad. Well, I see some weird things happening, but I think we can go with that. And let's just continue with this one. Now a little bit here as well. That's it. Okay, looks good. That's not bad at all. Let's see if we can do anything else in here. Now let's take the other side. Usually I go side by side. So I take the first side, then the other side, clean that one as well. And then I will move on to the label. Now I have cleaned up most of my areas. We can move on to the logo. Here I see some little details only. Mostly it looks good. Perfect. And I think that's finished. Looks good, isn't it? All right, so this is my first file. When I don't have to use a shadow underneath, then it's already good to go and I can just make my final steps on the file. But in case client wants to have a shadow for this one, or not a shadow, it's not a shadow, it's reflection underneath the product. So for that, when client wants to have a reflection underneath the product, then I will just quickly go in here and cut this area back in. Make a selection. And now if you go here, I will just paint it back in here. And now you see this reflection is visible. So all I need to do now, I just need to make a beautiful gradient in here, and then this reflection is also ready to go. For that, I have two options. I can use either a gradient tool or just a brush tool and paint in the area that I want to use. So in this case, let's try gradient, and let's just create one nice and even gradient here. That's it. Perfect. So this is what I need. Let's see what I have here. If I check the file, it is still showing a little bit this rough edge. So let's move that in here. And let's go back here. Now we have a reflection underneath the product, and usually I go and add my white background here. For that I will just go add extra layer, solid color, and I select white color for the background. So this is my file that I just finished, and it looks really good. Maybe one thing that I would like to do now is to add some highlights onto the label. So for that I will add in my level adjustment layer and bring up a little bit those highlights, and that's it. Looks good, nice. And now next step. This is not my finished file yet, because depends on the client. They want to have this in different format, different size. Which means by size I mean that they want to have it either in portrait format, or sometimes they want to have this in square, or sometimes they want to have it without any extra space around the product. So for portrait, it is usually as it is right now. I will just go into crop area and I take the original ratio and go down, something like that. And I have my image ready here. Or in case my client wants to have this in square, then I will just add quickly square, and this is what I have. And that's why I just want to point out that that's why I'm using this color fill layer in the bottom instead of just white color layer, because when I'm using color fill, then I can always make those size adjustments, and this area that will be extra in the image after cropping, it will be always in the same color that my solid layer is. If I would have just a plain white color as a background, as I can show you right now, and now I need to increase the size for the image, then after that I still have those transparent edges, which is really annoying, and then I need to increase the size for the white background layer as well. That's why I don't use this one. This is annoying. So I will go always with the solid color fill, and in this case I will have always this proper layer underneath. So if I need to go into square, this is what we have, all right? In some cases my client has some sort of a specific platform where they are using images, which is rendering those images so that the system itself is adding white borders around the image, and therefore they always want to have the file or the image without any extra space, any extra empty space around the product. So I will go onto the layer mask, click Command left button, and I have this selection on my product. And then for the crop function to remove all the area around the image is that when I'm here, my product is selected, then I just click crop, and then I get this exact format around the product, and there's no extra space whatsoever around the product, which is really convenient for the clients, because now they can decide where they will use this image. So that's an easy step to use, and this is something that I do very often. So let's continue now. This is finished, and we can now save that file. And for this file, usually I go into my images folder, and where I see my raw folder, now next to this one I will create a new one, and this is my kind of finished images, and this will be usually PSD. So I have my clear overview that now I have raw files, I have PSD files, which are finished files. There will be more folders in here at some point once I'm finished with all the editing, and then you will see why I'm using a structure like this one. All right, so let's continue. Sometimes when client requests that they want to have a file name for the image, then I will also add file name, and then it's easier to find from the folder when we have several different files. Now my file is saved, and that's it, that's clean, finished, and we can move on to the next one. Next one will be this brighter product, and let's see how is this quick selection working for that one. So if I'm just clicking that one, I get, well, pretty nice selection. All right, not bad. Let's just quickly create a mask, and next I would just add solid color just to see if my edges are looking now nice. So in here I see nice and even edges, just the bottom one is a bit hairy. That's not so good, so I need to clean that one up. Let's go and make this correct. For that, I'm usually going with the pen tool. I could do this with just a brush tool, but I know that my brush lines are not so smooth, and I can create a nicer curve with the pen tool. So that's why I'm always going with the pen tool. And let's just remove this one. And I think that's it. That's all good. Let's just quickly go through the file to see if we have any kind of defects, dust or anything. I see that we have some errors on the side. I think it's a label from the back. So for that, we can just quickly make a clone tool and clean it up. I see that it's not so straight, so I need to cut this edge just a bit to make it look nice and clean. Is that better now? All right, we'll see. Let's clean it up, and yes, looks good. All right, we can continue. So that's the reason why I create my mask always in the first place and then start cleaning the edges, because when I would have my mask disabled, then you would see quite a bit of stuff on the edge. When I'm going here and start to clean this up, then I might get these errors quite easily, and that's much more difficult to fix during the next step than using mask. And when using mask, then you don't have to worry that your brush is going over the edge too much. So that's all looking good now, and we can continue. Let's just quickly see if we have something here. We have some areas that we need to clean. And probably I can go with that one just to show how I'm working on the files. Okay, that was an easy one. So now we have this file, and we can also create a square format, for example, if we want, and then it looks nice and finished. Let's not add a reflection for this one. Let's keep it as it is, like that. Looks good. Let's save this one under my PSD folder, and we can set the name for the file. It will be easier to find this one later on. Next one, white on white. This is something that is usually very difficult to shoot. So for that one, we had black flags and we had whiteboards to illuminate the golden elements. So I think we have pretty nice starting point in here. So let's try to make a selection quickly for that one as well. And let's see what happens. That's not bad. That's really nice and clean cut. Let's add our base layer, solid color. And now we can see that these edges are looking good, clean, nice and clean. Okay, so this is what we have right now, and on the main surface I see that there is no major dust or defects. Just a few simple steps, that's it. Clean, that's clean. Only thing that is disturbing me right now is this logo, where I see that dark area. If you are wondering what this dark area is, then this is the hole inside my whiteboard. When I was placing my whiteboard just between the camera and the product, then this lens area, the hole that I was having in there, this area is showing up on that reflection. All right, then this is something that we need to paint back in. And usually what I do with things like these, I will just make a selection for this logo, and I will use clone or usually clone tool to bring back this golden area in here. So let's just quickly make a selection. I think we can make a quick selection on that one, and let's see how it works. Well, not so good. This is what I mean. When I need to create selections, I get those horrible edges here. It just doesn't work for me. That's why I'm using very often pen tool just to create those clean, nice edges. This is not working, so I need to just quickly go here and make my clean cut using pen tool. Luckily, I don't have to do it for all the logo because I only have this dark area on this right hand side. So let's make a selection. And now clone stamp tool and just quickly paint it back in. Looks good, isn't it? I like it. It's nice and shiny now, and there's no this disturbing area. All right, only thing I would do now would be adding some highlights with the levels adjustment layer, because I see that it's not that bright as I would like to have. So I would go like so. And now I can continue with the rest of the image. Let's see, let's just create proper crop around the image. Maybe we can add the shadow or the reflection also underneath the product. Let's just quickly make that visible here. Just a few clicks. And let's bring back our reflection. So if we go here and have it like so, then I will just quickly use brush tool. I don't have to use gradient tool all the time. I can go and use brush tool and just paint it like so. That's it. Beautiful reflection underneath the product. This is looking really good. So full size, beautiful product image with contrasty edges, and this white background is working perfectly with the product, and the product is still visible clearly on this background. This is a perfect image. So this is what clients want when you need to shoot white product on white background. So let's continue. We can just save this one now. Let's go into PST folder and let's save that file. And let's take another one. This will be a quick one, hopefully. I see it has nice contrasty edges, and hopefully we can use quick selection tool or the object selection tool. Let's see what it does. Well, it's not working so well. So let's create a rough cutout for that one. And if it works like that. Not perfect. As you see, it has some weird cutouts in the bottom here. And this is the main issue when using those automated tools. So probably with this one, I just need to go and make a manual selection or manual cutout for the product. And let's just do this as fast as possible. I know I'm pretty slow with this one. I'm sure that there will be editors who are way faster than I am, but that's the way it goes for me. So it takes a bit time, but at least I get much better results when using this technique. All right, my edges are looking clean and we can move on. All right, we have some dust in here. manual work. Yep, that's all we need to do. And let's just quickly try to clean this one up. I think I don't go too into detail, because then I think we will spend the whole night in here. But let's stick to the main points that we see, because it is very often that I forget myself when doing those corrections, and I might end up using or spending hours doing those corrections and going too much into detail. It's not necessary, because when you are zooming out this file, then you can't see many of those errors that you see when you are zoomed in like 100% or so. So this is something that you need to bear in mind. Don't spend too much time on the dust removal. All right, let's hope this quick correction tool is working, and it's not bad. It looks pretty good. So let's take the clone stamp, still make some corrections when I see some like edges are too rough in here. So for those, I will also use clone tool, and I will fix those to get a little bit cleaner and nicer overall look for the whole image. So this is what I usually do for every product. This is looking good now, and I think this is also a little bit too dark on the highlight side. Maybe we can now even out when we have this pure white on the background. Then let's see if we can raise the levels a little bit for the highlights. Let's bring it up quite a bit, like so. That's better. Looks good, perfect. All right, now let's take the square format. That's it. That's my final image. Okay, now we can save this one as well. Let's go into PSD folder, and what's the name? Let's call this as bold. Right, and the last one is our Elvital shampoo. Here we go. This is our final file, and let's see if we can do a quick cut out for this one as well. I hope it works, because it's in different color. Almost, but there is something weird happening in here. So for that, once again, we need to select our quick selection tool and paint that out of our selection. And here we need to paint back in some of the areas, and that's better. Let's create a mask and solid color layer just to see if this mask is now clean. Not perfect, but we are close. So let's fix the bottom, and then it is okay. Just a quick pen tool movement in here. And make a selection again, and then mask and mask it out. All right, clean. That's good. All right, so let's continue with that one. We have quite a bit of work to do in here. We need to remove all this dust. I'm not sure that we need to do this for the testing purpose. If we are just showing my workflow, then let's not go too deep into the dust removal. Let's have it like so. And we have some air bubbles here as well. This is something that I usually remove all if I can, and then it will just take a little bit time, and this is just something that we need to do. Second option would have been to put this product in place onto the table when shooting and just wait a little bit once those bubbles fade out, and that's it. Then you would have a clean, proper image. This is usually something that I need to do when I'm shooting beer bottles, because beer is also having those air bubbles in there, and then it takes time to get rid of those. So let's keep it like that. Let's keep the bubbles, but let's try to remove everything else that I see in here. Okay, for example, I have this dark area in here. What do we do now? This is something that is a problem every time I shoot golden element on the products. And for that, I have this little simple trick what I use every time. I go here and I take this color, the same color that is the actual gold that I need to have, and when the detail is a small one on the product, then I will just paint this area with the gold that I just selected. So if I go here and do it like that, then I think this is looking good. This is something that I can do quickly, and it's not that visible. Well, of course, right now it is visible, but if I just try to clean up those edges as well, then this is something that will be not visible on the final image. Let's just try to do that here as well. I think it is already getting better. Look at that. And when I zoom out, fixed. My problem is fixed. So I think we will have our final image cleaned. Let's say it is clean for now. Let's just look past those air bubbles and that's it. All right, let's make a crop and then we will set it in the center. And we have a nice product image. We can add it into the PSD folder. And let's add a name as well. Now that we have all files edited, we have them in the separate folder, in PSD folder. And in here you can see these files are having this beautiful white background, and now client wants to have different formats for these files. For example, client usually wants JPEG. This is way to go. Always they want this one. Maybe they want to have this in different sizes. Then you need to export, for example, maximum size and also maybe 2000 pixels or 3000 pixels longer age. And then, in addition, when they are using those files in client newsletters, for example, which will be printed out, then they need TIFF files. So I don't send out PSD files, pretty much never, because this is something that I keep in my computer and I'm not sharing PSD files. But when they want proper file that can be printed out as well, then TIFF is the way to go. So for that, I will go back to Photoshop. When I have my files open up in here, then just opening file, taking scripts, image processor. This is something that I already have shortcut for, because now when I have my files open in here, then I just click Command E and I get this window, image processor. And in here, I can create multiple different formats for my files. First section, number one, I will use open images. If I'm not using open images, and I have all my PSD files in a separate folder, and there's like several hundreds of files in this folder, then I don't have to open these up one by one in Photoshop. I can go here, click select folder, find the folder where it is in the computer, and then your Photoshop will take this specific folder and take all the files from there and generate file formats that you are setting in here in the next step. So right now we use open images. We save in the same location where we have those files originally. It means it is in PSD folder. And then third step is file type, where I set how I export my files. First one will be JPEG. Usually I go with size in 3000 pixels, longer side, and quality maximum as it's possible, 12, and convert to sRGB. Then next one, I want to save it as TIFF. And here, usually I don't resize anything. I will keep it as original as possible. So the client would have this maximum capability when editing this file, and that's it. So this is what I have here, and under the fourth step, I can add in my credentials that this is copyright information. These files belong to whatever you say in this field. And then I just click run. Photoshop will now process it a couple of seconds, and what it does, it is creating separate files, JPEG files in a separate folder and TIFF files in a TIFF folder based on the information we just gave in the image processor tab. So this is what it does. And now if we go into our folder, then in PSD folder you see TIFF and JPEG. And if we click on the JPEG, you see all my files properly named in proper format, in proper file type, and in TIFF we have the same situation. Everything is correctly managed. Usually I want to keep all those folders visible in one main folder. So for that I will take my TIFF and JPEG export folders and I will go into Packshot. If I go and click my main folder, then I always see my specific folders. Raw file is in the raw folder. This is where I have all my raw content that I was using to create PSDs, which is the next one. In here I have my PSD edited file, maximum files that I can have from this content. And then I have my export folders, JPEG, and also TIFF. This is my file management when I'm working with different files. And now when I'm in a need of extra space on my hard drive, then this is what I can do. I come here and I select my files that are open in this main folder, and I can just delete those without worrying about losing any of my important content that I was editing or exporting. This is all still there, and I can just delete, and I have my peace of mind that all I need is still there. So this is how I manage all my files when I'm shooting product images. All right, I think that's it. I hope it's useful and you can implement some ideas into your own workflow, and probably I will come back with some updates in the future about this one, and I will show you something new or something I have learned during the processes that I change in the studio every day. So I really thank you for sticking to this video for that long. I hope you got some tips and tricks from this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.